Say that. Hey, what's going on? This is Lars Ulrich from Metallica, and you're listening to two guys who I always get my coke from. It's Juan and Joe, of course. I always know Joe is Jose the fucking drug mule. Huh? Ha ha!
On this podcast, we got to speak with a very special guest for the first time ever.
Yeah, this is our first guest we've ever had. Episode number 11.
Number 11. Our special guest is comedian Craig GASS.
You probably know Craig from Family Guy, The Howard Stern Show. He was on King of Queens. The guy's done a lot of stuff. He's been everywhere. He's a master impressionist and just all around hilarious, funny guy.
Yes, and we got to know Craig GASS through a local DJ, radio DJ here in Phoenix, Arizona. And he actually reached out to me. Craig GASS actually reached out to me to basically do a little work for him, an animation for his bit called A Love Letter to Seattle.
You can find that animation now on Craig's Facebook page and also on his YouTube channel. Jose's also got a trailer up on our YouTube channel just to kind of show you what it was about. But the actual letter itself is hosted on his channel, on Craig's channel, and then again, like I said, on his Facebook page. It came out really good. It was really funny. It was already a really funny bit, but then when you put a little bit of life to it, it just, takes off a little bit more even. I really enjoyed it. That was great, man.
Well, thank you. I think the same thing. I think it was great. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun the entire time. And it was just a great opportunity for me. It's something I actually really love to do, and that was a good test to see if it was something that I would enjoy the entire process through.
A little bit of stamina on that one was needed, so it was
for sure.
I like climbing hills. Let's see if I can take on this mountain.
Yeah. Let's see if I can move a mountain. But it was a total blast. It was a lot of fun. One of the best compliments I received was a friend of ours by the name of Matthew. He actually said to me that it was like two comedians working on one piece, which I just thought that was actually one of the best compliments I could ever get.
Yeah, that's a really good compliment. And you did, when you animate that stuff, even the prior stuff you've done for local DJ for KUPD, you bring it to life and you bring the words to life, but you also add your own little pieces to it that enhance it, something that you think of, it makes you feel this way, so you put a little drop in there, or for the radio program, put in something, a reference from a prior, piece that everybody in town knows. So that was always good, make those appearances. And it's those little Easter eggs and those hidden gems that true fans really appreciate. But that is a good compliment.
I thought it was very nice. Not to mention the compliment that actually Baden gives me on this during this podcast, which I truly appreciate. I think it came out great. Craig loved it. Yeah. We're hoping to possibly work on a couple more animation pieces, hopefully soon. And that's how we actually made the connection. And I had just basically asked him if he can come on to be our guest on our podcast, and he pulled through.
Yeah, I think when he reflects back on his career, like hanging out with us and being on this podcast will probably be one of the highlights he talks about.
Oh yeah, definitely. Juan and who?
I know. I remember the name Jose. He did something for me. It was important, but I don't remember the podcast.
No, not at all.
But it was fun. He had a good time, and he did a great job. As not that we didn't expect anything less, but it was really good.
I think the good thing about Craig is that he does love to tell stories.
Yeah.
You'll notice that he loves to talk, but it was good. So in this podcast, it was a total blast. It was a lot of fun. It was different. So this is not your normal letters from B-Rad. This is just a special guest.
Yep.
And we had a fucking great time.
We did.
Craig is a cool ass dude. He has pulled through in everything that he told me.
Yep.
And he in the end, he definitely said, I had a good time. So I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. And we do talk about the situation with B-Rad, and we discuss the letters and all that. It is a part of the episode. We just didn't get to reading one. So
right.
But still,
yeah,
it was an awesome episode. It was a lot of fun. I can't wait to have more people on it. It adds some more dynamic to it. I thought it was really good.
Me too. It was definitely, it was just much different, and we covered everything from murder to comedy to failures in a sense.
Yeah, got some life advice.
It got some life advice, and we would have hoped, or we would have liked to have gone a little bit longer. The podcast itself is an hour and a half long, but it was late. He had to get up early for the next morning, and we had to unfortunately go to our full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to go about an hour and a half, which is still definitely, I think, a decent amount of time.
That's a good length. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we just wanted to give a little intro. Make sure to check out the animation, A Love Letter to Seattle. Again, that's on Craig Gass's Facebook, also on his YouTube. And feel free to check out the trailer on our YouTube. It's only 60 seconds long, so I'm sure you guys have 60 seconds to kill.
Definitely. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you get updates when we put out new episodes. And we love the fact that you're listening. And if you got anything to say to us, drop us a note. Send us a comment, like it, subscribe, and all that good jazz.
Absolutely. Hella like it, and hit that like button hella times.
Absolutely. Let's roll it.
So here it is with, what does they say? No further ado?
Without
further ado, we welcome to you comedian Craig Gass. Craig,
How are you?
good.
It's funny because when you said you sent me a text. Can I? Oh man, I don't know if I should give this away.
We can always edit.
The name of your place.
The Legend.
Okay, you said, "Hey man, my place is a legend," and I was like, "Oh yeah, why? What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, that's the name of the place."
No,
like,
it's a legend. It's both.
I thought like you were saying, "Oh man, my place is like a legend because that's where the Holmberg family gangbang took place," or I didn't know what you meant by the legend.
For the rest of the story.
Because I remember being at a party once, a comedian friend of mine, Craig Shoemaker, called me up one night and said, he goes, "Dude, do you want to go to a big Hollywood party tonight? I got a +1, and there's always like huge celebrities at this thing. It's a trip. It's like this mansion, and this guy hires chefs to come over, and it's just like, and he usually has like big name people perform." And I was like, "Sure, man." And so I went with him, and sure enough, man, it was this crazy mansion party that all these celebrities had. They had the Beach Boys performing. Bobby Brown performed for some reason. It was like, and then a famous, I think it was Dave Koz. Yeah, I think it was Dave Koz. Like, he's a famous sax guy. I might be wrong. I know he's a famous. He's a famous musician. He's just not like our style of music. And in the middle of the party, and there's all these weird people there. I'm actually trying to Google this guy's name. The guy who played like the bad brother of Lou Diamond Phillips in that movie about La Bamba. Who was that guy who played his brother?
Oh yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Damn it.
What is that guy's name?
I have no idea.
I want to say it was like Eric something. Oh, Isai Morales.
Oh,
Isai Morales was there, and John Stamos was there. It was like all these random.
Shit, really?
Yeah, because the guy who executive produced that TV show that Saget and Stamos were on, Full House, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's the executive producer of Full House, right?
Oh Jesus!
So
he's got $1 or two.
Right. So getting back to when I get the text from Jose saying, "Hey man, my place is the legend," I thought he was saying there's like some kind of story to it, because I'm at this house, right? And it's a big mansion. There's all these celebrities kind of walking around, and they have like amazing food, and they have a couple areas of the mansion where they've just set up a bar. And I'm talking to this bartender girl who says, "Hey, you know whose place this used to be? Have you ever heard about the history of this place? It's pretty legendary." And I said, "No." And she said, "This was Roman Polanski's house." And I was like, "Oh wow." And she goes, "Yeah, so you know." And I go, "Yeah, that's crazy." And I'm pretending to know. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. And then a little bit later, I run into like a comedian, and he's like, "Hey man, you know whose house this used to be?" And I go, "Yeah, Roman Polanski." And he goes, "Yeah, so how crazy is that?" And I go, "Fucking nuts, dude." Fucking nuts. And people keep coming up to me and like mentioning to me like, "Hey, did you ever hear about, this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, this was Roman Polanski's." And I'm like, "Yeah, so you know that?" And I go, "Yeah." And I'm like, why is that?
What am I missing?
So I go out on a patio and I Google Roman Polanski house, and it turns out this is the house where the Manson family murders happened.
Oh, fuck.
The Manson family hid out in the woods
yeah.
outside of this mansion, and they preyed on this. There was like a party going on at the house, and they scaled the walls. They came and murdered everybody, including Sharon Tate, who was pregnant.
Yeah.
They murdered Sharon Tate. They had the whole Manson family murders happened in this house. So the guy who's the executive producer of Full House gets this mansion for a huge discount.
I wonder why.
Because of the murders that took place here. And then
shit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, weren't you afraid that it might it'd be the part 2?
Or if you believe in ghosts,
Yeah. There's a lot of people that do too.
What kind of shit is happening here, And that kind of brings me around to what the whole point of this podcast is, that you do it. It started out as, and there's so many angles of this. Like on every episode, do you talk about your friend? Is that?
Yeah, every episode. And so real quick, every episode, we'll usually read a letter that he's written. And we read a letter, as you can see his nice picture that he sent me.
He sends good paraphernalia.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they gave it up.
Yeah, me too.
Who knew that you could actually still send photographs of
man. And so we'll usually just read his letter, and so he said something here on this one, I can't remember what it was, but he always start up and kind of jokes about shit. But yeah, we'll read his letters, and while we're reading his letters, we'll just talk about, little comments and shit like that he does.
You get a lot of history of where Jose grew up, all the people involved. He's like, "Oh yeah, this cat. Shit, I haven't thought about that cat in a long time." So back in the day, we were doing this, and then this happened. So we just go all over.
So I want to. There's like so many questions I have, and number one, I guess, is, have you always been able to look past what he did to put himself in prison?
Well,
have you had moments where you struggled with what he did?
I think at first I did, for sure. The thing is that he's been convicted and everything like that. I don't know any other way around it.
Wow.
So I honestly 100% don't know if he did it, but I can't see any other way.
Hasn't he told you that he did it?
No.
Mm-mm. Does he say that he didn't do it?
He's never talked about it to me once. Ever.
Is there any reason you should have doubt that he did it?
Well, growing up with him, always one of the nicest guys.
Okay.
He always was just a good dude. Now, he would get in fights, but only when people would basically start him with him, they'd start fights with him. And he was
a finisher, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so he was a fighter, so he would finish him up. But then after that, the next day, he'd go and apologize. Like, "Hey, man, I didn't, what happened, but just so you know, this is, I'm sorry that this happened, whatever, and so forth, and then just move on." So that's why it surprises me. But I don't know if there was some type of influence of drugs that was going on, because he was living with his mom, and then his mom ended up kicking him out. And it was a group of 4 of us that always used to hang out. But when that happened, he ended up hanging out with another group of people that we knew and we were still friends with. But, I knew sometimes they were in a little bit other shit as far as drugs go.
Yeah. When the trial was going on, were you aware of the trial going on?
I was aware, but I wasn't following it or anything like that. You know,
it's crazy. I've had murder in my life, and you describe your friend as like a pretty easygoing and chill guy. I remember this one dude that I went to high school with, who was the most chill, hippie-ish, like pot smoking guy. He was he was very artistic. He liked to draw. I would always see him in the entrance into my high school. He was this kid. His name was Chris, who would he would always draw at the sit down, draw. You'd pass him every day at school, and he was a super mellow stoner kid. After high school, he ended up getting his own place in an apartment complex next door to a football player guy that we all knew, who I guess was in a bad relationship and was physically abusive to his girlfriend or wife, whoever it was that he was living with. I don't know if he was married or not. And it really upset Chris, and because he could hear them fighting, and he apparently said to this dude Matt, "Listen, man, you can't. This isn't cool, and if you do this again, if you touch her again, I'm going to kill you."
This is what the stoner kid said?
This is what the stoner kid said. Oh. And it's exactly what he did.
He did?
Matt was beating his woman, and Chris came over and shot him and killed him. And Chris went to prison, and that isn't even close to the craziest stories I have. There's another girl I knew, Mindy Peters, who was a friend of mine in Tucson, who, and I always tell this story to girls because it's like such an example of like you have to, girls should always have a buddy system. Like, girls just aren't safe, when they're alone.
I agree.
So, so Mindy, she was 16. I think I might've been 17. Maybe I was 16 and she was 15. Mindy Peters from Tucson. I went to high school in Tucson. All my formative years were in Tucson. And Mindy was at a party with a bunch of friends on the other side of Tucson, which Tucson's a small town, but in small towns, if you're on the other side of town, that's like being a million miles away. Like everybody is so dramatic of like, oh my God, you're on the other side of town. Like that's so far away. So
but I'd go with it in Tucson because you'd be 2 miles away and it'd take you a half hour to get there.
True. Because you have to take all surface streets.
Oh my God,
you have to take all surface streets. Yeah. So she was on the other, like we all were living on the northwest side of town, and she was on the east side of town at some party with a bunch of her girlfriends. Her girlfriends, they all went to this party, and I guess some guy at this party started creeping on Mindy, and she felt kind of uncomfortable, and it was like, leave me alone. She walked away from him. And then one thing leads to another where she realizes that her friends just ditched her. Her friends bailed, got in a car, and they left her there. And she's like, fuck. And then that guy comes around like, hey, and he tries to talk to her, and she goes, hey, can you give me a ride home? And he goes, yeah, whenever you want, I'll give you a ride home. And she goes, yeah, can you drive me home now? And I live on the northwest side of town. And he goes, sure. So he drives her home and is kind of creepy towards her, but she's like, all right, thanks. And he says, hey, can I get your phone number? And she can't think of a fake phone number fast enough, so she just gives him her home phone. This is obviously way before cell phones. This is in the late 80s. So the guy starts calling her every day, and she tells her mom, like, I'm not home. Just tell him I'm not home. And he calls like, hey, is Mindy there? And then so one night, and this is the problem, the guy knew where she lived.
Right.
And she lived in a really nice neighborhood. She lived in a pretty upscale neighborhood. And the guy said in court that when he broke into the house with his friend, they broke into Mindy's house. They broke into Mindy's house with the intention of robbing the house. Okay. But they broke in with a shotgun and a machete. Oh. And Mindy's mom woke up first and came down the hallway, and they shot Mindy's mom. And then Mindy got up, and they shot Mindy so many times that they were not able to identify her sex when they first found her, because she'd been shot so many times. So there's this crazy thing of like, it didn't dawn on me that there are, of course there is. There are friends of the people who commit these acts. And then you just wonder, like, how do you find forgiveness? Like, there's things that, like, as an adult, there are people I've had resentments against in my life.
Yeah.
And I've had moments where I really have a resentment against this person who's close to me, who I should love, but that person lied to me about something. And then to have that question posed to you of, well, have you ever lied to somebody? And it's
right.
like, oh,
Right.
fuck, and you have to realize, like, who is anyone to judge anybody else?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it comes to taking somebody else's life, like, I guess that was when you first told me the story about your friend. It's like, how do you find it in yourself to forgive somebody? And I guess the immediate answer from you is that you're not 100% sure if your friend did it, and you just haven't had that discussion with them, so
right.
you don't even discuss the topic.
No. Never has. It's never been brought up. I've asked here and there in his letters, but it's like it never like he just doesn't say anything. So I've never known. Now everything that I've heard, I really can't think any different, but it is hard. Like, it is crazy when somebody has been basically convicted and jailed for that, and I just it's just a hard thing for me to understand.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I know who he was and who he is, or at least who he was at that time, and so it's hard. Like, it's hard to judge. So it's easy to judge when you're on one side. It's just hard to judge when you're on the other, because you haven't experienced it in a sense,
Yeah.
And I've experienced not murder but death, as far as, like, one of my best friends, who I got a picture up there right now, passed away, and I miss him every day to this day. But he got taken by epilepsy. But it's just like, I could feel the pain. I can't imagine if somebody had taken my friend's life away, how much hate, I would like to say, or resentment I would hold towards that individual. And I don't know if I could ever forgive them. So if my buddy had ever done it, I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve where he's at. So, I mean, that should be the case.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that family, and they'll never have that. And so I could never agree to, like, oh yeah, well, he made a mistake, let him go. I mean, yeah, maybe he was 18, but to me, about killing is wrong from a very early age, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, it's wrong, So that's kind of why it's hard for me to do that. So I try not to think about that. I just try to think of him as just a human being that unfortunately did something that was absolutely terrible, and I just still want to talk to him and just try to at least be there for him in some fashion.
And I think, too, to interject real quick, I've never had.
What's that?
Can we move this?
No, that's fine.
You good?
Yeah.
I've never had anybody I know killed, and I don't know anybody who's killed anybody, so I don't know either side of it. The pain, I can't even imagine. But knowing Jose and knowing the letters and some of the stories from where he grew up, the one thing you'll learn about Jose is he's the most loyal person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
So that loyalty goes forever, unless you burn him, But he is loyal to a fault, probably. And then also, it's just a buddy from when I was a kid, and I can't communicate with him any other way. I'm just gonna keep writing to him. What's the
most common questions that you? Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
What's the most common questions that you get when they learn this story about your friend?
Well, one is, did he do it? Of course. I guess the second one is why, and same thing, kind of like, would you ever believe that he would have done something like that?
Yeah.
You know, but basically your normal is what everybody else would kind of immediately ask. And I basically I answer him basically the same way. It's just like, no, I would have never thought. Do I know? I don't know 100%, so I can't say. But I do say that if he did do that, he definitely has to be where he is. I mean, that's just, that's just the way it has to be.
My guess would be that if there was any, the most reasonable, like in terms of if there's any doubt about it, that he would be complaining about his innocence from the beginning. Like there would be a lot of, he would be making it loud and clear that he was innocent. If that was the case, I would think. It's crazy because one of the reasons why I moved out of Arizona was that a friend of mine, Diana Vicari, was also murdered, and that incident was so heavy. She, her arms were found in a dumpster in downtown Tucson, and they still to this day haven't found her body. But the reason why they were able to identify her is that they have a program in schools, in a lot of elementary schools, where they say you can get your kids fingerprinted.
They did that to us.
Yeah, like it's not.
It's a
But they say it's for your, it's for your kids' safety. So if anything happened, it's like it's helpful to. And that's absolutely what they did with Diana, is they were able to get the fingerprints from her hands to determine that it was her. And it's weird because there was a period of time where it was like, who did this? And she was a friend of mine. Another friend of mine was actually kind of messing around with her at the time. So he was the number one suspect. Because they always say it's somebody close to
always,
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she had written his name like on everything with hearts around it and stuff. So, they were like, all right, let's talk to this guy. And there's a lot of circumstances around somebody in this town did something horrible to someone I know, and man, that was a mind fuck. That was like the repercussions psychologically on all of us was crazy. A close friend of mine, Amy, had her own house. She owned a townhouse. And all of us, a bunch of us that were close to Diana, would just stay at Amy's, and it was therapeutic to like hang out with everybody and kind of talk and kind of get through the whole thing. But the biggest question was like, who could have possibly? And then you start looking at people in your life, like, wait a minute, remember that one night when that guy said this?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah.
And we all started like slowly losing. And I was telling this to Jose last night. I didn't really go into details. I said, I've had people in my life who've been murdered, and the thing, that incident with Diana was so much of a mind fuck that I didn't realize I had a sense of safety. Like we all have a natural feeling of safety in our lives. You don't know that you have that until it's taken away from you. And when it's taken away from you, it's like I started getting really paranoid. Late at night, when I would go out, if a car started slowing down next to me, I would start walking away, because I in my mind, I had like a mind's eye that I felt like I could see the window rolling down and somebody pulling something out to like either shoot me with or stab me with.
You start losing trust in everybody.
You start getting really paranoid. There's a killer out there somewhere, and they found a guy. I think it was like within a year or so. They there was a guy who was institutionalized at the time in Utah. They connected to her murder, and he ended up on death row. But I think he's off death row. And there was some things that didn't fit. Apparently, like there's a lot of people who say that they're not satisfied with the conclusion of the detectives. They feel like the real killer is still out there, and that really fucked me up. It's like it's just a topic that is so heavy to me because I've experienced it with people, and then around the time that Diana got murdered, I remember random night, totally random. I went to a house party on the southwest side of Tucson and met some dude who I hit it off with. It's like sometimes you meet people in life, you're just instantly like two strangers like really click. And the cop showed up and broke up this party. They're like, oh, well, let's go somewhere else. Where are we going? I don't know. We're going to go here. Maybe we'll go. Look, just at the end of the road, let's meet at the Circle K. So we all met at a Circle K down the road from where this house party was. And we all like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? I don't know. We're going to go here. And I said, you know what? There's a party on this side of town. And this dude who I just met that I hit it off with was like, dude, I'm going to the east side. And I go, I'm not going to the east side. And he's like, oh, dude, I'm telling you, this party's going to be awesome. I go, no, dude, you come to our side of town. And he's like, no, dude, the east side. And we both just agreed to disagree. Mm-hmm. You go to the east side. I'm going to go to my side of town. I'll see you later. We took off. Bro. Yeah. But the next day on the news, there was a story about a guy who was beat to death at a Circle K. And it was that guy.
The guy that you were met up with?
After we left, that guy is still hanging out at the Circle K. Some kids are like, what the fuck are you looking at? And he's like, I'm not looking at you. He's like, what the fuck are you looking at? And they started a fight with him, and these dudes just jumped him and beat him to death in front of the Circle K after we left.
Oh.
Wow.
So, yeah. Shit. So it was, so murder has been around me. Yeah. And so as soon as you told me the story, it's like, holy shit, like, I've never met anybody who's been on that side of the fence that you're on. So I was just so curious about, and my guess is from everything you've told me that the tone of this podcast is a lot lighter than we're doing right now.
Well,
that is,
just a little bit.
Yeah. So it's funny because I didn't want to, and I just said, man, I have so much I want to say to you, but I want to save it for the, because I'm a radio guy, and you always know, like, dude, save it for the air, save it for the air. And I didn't want to like sit there backstage at a System of a Down show telling you a bunch of heavy shit and then saying, all right, you ready to watch System of a Down now? Let's go do it.
How'd you like the show?
Yeah, like, well, everyone I know has been murdered. You ready to go? Hey, you like Chop Suey, right? Let's hurry up. It's a fifth song. You're going to love it. I'll put you on stage. Let's go. Yeah, I told Jose animated a comedy piece that I did. And I told him, as a thank you, I said, are you? I'm gonna come back to Arizona. I'm hosting a charity event when I come back to Arizona. So the week that I'm gonna be there, I have a couple friends that are performing that week. Are you a fan of System of a Down or Anthrax by chance? And he's like, dude, I love System of a Down. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, those guys are really nice to me. They're a couple guys I consider them good friends, and they've always been really supportive of me. I've done stand-up opening for System of a Down. So I'll take you to the show. And he's like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, man. And then over the last few weeks, I would check in with Jose and go, hey, by the way, I texted my buddy from System of a Down, and we'll be there. And he's like, okay, whatever. I always had this feeling like there was a part of Jose. It's like, oh, okay, dude, you say you're friends with everybody. Yeah. And then last night, I said, hey, man, meet me at this place. I walked him in and walked him in the dressing rooms, and then we hung out, So and then watched the show, awesome. and then hung out a little more after the show, and by the way, there's a really funny move that happened. I meant to bring this up to you. one of the guys in the band, John, we're walking out of the arena because John is like, let's go somewhere and just hang out. Like, I want to go to like a bar. Is there, like, do they have bars in downtown Phoenix? And a buddy of ours from KUPD, Mark Randall, said, he said, you know what? Take him to Copper Blues, which is next door to a comedy club I performed at before called Stand Up Live. And I was like, all right, let's go to Copper Blues. And so we start walking out. And John turns around and looks at all of us and says, all right, listen, if anybody looks at me, just keep walking. It's like, all right. He goes, don't draw attention to us. So we walk outside and somebody tries to sell John a counterfeit T-shirt from System of a Down. And he goes, nah, man, it's okay. And the guy goes, you don't want a T-shirt, man? You need some T-shirts? It's cheap, $10, man, just $10. And one of the guys in our group goes, that's the guy from System of a Down. And it's like, he just said, just act cool. Don't like, you know. And like, you know, this is just like, you know, that is the funniest fucking thing. That's the guy from System of a Down.
Not only am I going to help the people that are heckling you, I'm going to get new people that don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
And they're going to heckle you too.
I remember going to I took a friend of mine who's, this is terrible name dropping, but a friend of mine is the guitar player for Pearl Jam. He actually makes an appearance on my comedy special, Mike McCready. And I took Mike to a Roger Waters show on the Wall tour. We went to go see the show in Anaheim. And I was telling Mike, I was like, dude, I'm telling you, this is going to be the greatest show you've ever seen. Like, I don't want to ruin it, but just, you got to go. And he's like, okay. So I brought him and his wife to the concert. And before the show, I bring him backstage and I go, hey, by the way, this is my friend Mike, and this is his wife, Ashley. Hey, Mike. Hey, Ashley. And I'm like, yeah. And I go, did you guys meet my friend Mike? This is Mike. This is Ashley. And then we walk out to our seats, and I go, Mike, I wasn't even sure if you wanted me to tell people who you are. Like, I don't know if you want to be bothered. And he goes, oh, I don't mind. I mean, you can, you know. And then his wife, Ashley, goes, Craig, he loves that shit. And I go, really? And she goes, yeah. And I go, he does? She goes, yeah. And I go, oh my God. So Roger Waters does a show for an hour, intermission, and another hour and a half. Okay. So intermission, we go backstage again. Except this time I go, hey, Pearl Jam's here. Did you guys meet Pearl Jam? This is Pearl Jam. Did you meet Pearl Jam? Come over here and say hi to Pearl Jam. This is Mike. This is Pearl Jam right here. This guy is Pearl Jam. This is Pearl Jam. And then he's like, hey, what's going on? I go, did you guys know Pearl Jam's here? Hey, everybody get in the room. Get in the room. Say hello to Pearl Jam. And I'm introducing everybody at that time. Like, but yeah, John was...
The complete opposite, John.
Well, I think I can understand what John was saying, though, because that's a different scene. John's saying, like, this could get weird if we're walking and then one person, like a magnet sticks to me, draws in another person and another person, and then other people turn around like, what's going on over there? That's the guy. And then it becomes a big, and then it could become like a moving meet and greet that gets more and more, like I understand what he was saying.
Right.
And by the way, I am the complete opposite. If anybody recognizes me from anything, I will talk to you until, and I've done this before, I will talk to a guy who's a fan of mine until they get to the point where they go,
they're not a fan anymore.
Okay, man, listen, I gotta go. And I'll be like, dude, I thought you wanted to hang out with me. He's like, yeah, but I got someplace to be. And I go, I'll go with you. Like, no, man, it's cool. Like, yeah,
I'm actually going to my parent-teacher conferences.
I fucking love parent-teacher conferences.
Oh, man, I haven't been to a parent-teacher conference.
Where's your fucking kid? Let's do this. Like, yeah, I remember one time I got an apartment in Woodland Hills. I had just moved in, and I remember walking outside my front door, and I was locking my door up, and this guy is walking down the hall, and he goes, Craig Gass, what are you doing here? And I go, I fucking live here, dude. What's up? And I threw the door open. My girlfriend that I was living with at the time, I threw the door open. I go, babe, get out of here. This guy knows who I am. Get over here. Talk to this guy. And I'm telling the guy, I go, dude, yeah, I live right here. And then I remember after that exchange, and he went home, and I went back to my place. I was like, why did I say that? Like, if you look at my social,
like a bigger fan.
Like, if you look at my social media, you can see I'm on the road all the time, and I'm like, dude, this place is empty 3 weeks out of the month.
I'm in Tampa.
Yeah.
And the guy's going,
you need a TV? Get inside this bitch right here. Grab yourself a TV.
You're just gonna put up a goddamn fucking neon. It's like Craig Gass
lives here. Yeah. It's fucking
A sign, home, not home.
Yeah.
I switch that. I'm leaving.
it was fucking. It's fucking. It can be really, really embarrassing, but I've been known to do it.
Well, you seem to have that energy too. Like I was watching some of the video stuff backstage. Like, you know, if there's people and they want to hear, you'll just start talking to them, and you're always on. Just, you know, I got a new story. I got something to tell you. I haven't seen you for a while, and everybody just kind of sits down like, all right, he's gonna.
Yeah, I love telling a good story. I love hearing a good story. So it's like, you know, and John knows that. We were in a social situation last night where John, the drummer for System of a Down, was John had us hanging out in his dressing room, and he had some people there that he had done a charity thing with. I don't know what the charity was, but he raised some money for.
It was one of those two dudes down there. It was their friend that had passed away from, I forgot what disease it was.
Right, and that was the charity that John wanted to raise money for.
Correct.
And so these guys were like, we did it for our friend. And basically John said, you know, highest bidder can hang out with me for a day. And so these guys, they made the highest bid, and John had lunch with them and then brought him to the show. And John's got this look on his face of like, yeah, so this is my dressing room. And he's like, Craig, here, you. He goes, Craig's a professional comedian. You tell them some jokes. And I'm like, and I go, all right. And then it got off to a slow start where I go, where are you guys from? And they go, oh, I'm from Ohio. I'm from Indiana. I'm from blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh, okay. And then I look across the room, and John's looking at me with like the, come on, keep rolling finger. He like, come on, jokes. Start. He's like, start getting. Was he filming me? Yeah, that motherfucker. He did the same thing the night before. We were hanging out in Chavo's hotel room, and John brought up this terrible story about how I bombed one night on stage. And it's a long story, but I bombed, and this is more name dropping. I bombed in front of Roger Waters and his entire band and road crew. And Chavo and John were my guests in this private party, and they watched me eat it. Like it was so funny because John is kind of like the best and worst guy that you want to bomb in front of. I think we really love each other. I think there's a tremendous amount of mutual admiration that we have for each other. But John is a ball buster, and he will not let that shit go. And so he brings it up like the night before the concert, and he starts filming me. Like I notice he kind of like has his camera up, and I go, dude, you're fucking filming me. And he goes, what? And I go, you're fucking filming me. And he goes, no, man. And then and he goes, no, keep talking. What were you saying? Now what happened at the end when Roger Waters said you're a piece of shit? And I go, oh man. And I go, this is what happened. And I tell this story, and I know I'm being filmed. And he goes, yeah. He goes, look, I filmed you. I'm gonna post this right now. And even Chavo was like, dude, I'm standing here with a fucking bong and a bunch of weed. You can't like. And he goes, oh man. He goes, dude, you have your own weed company. He goes, yeah, but I'm slouching on the couch like I look like a stoner over here. Like, don't fucking post that. And he goes, no, dude, don't post it. And I go, John, tomorrow night when we get to the arena, I'll tell you the story, and we'll do it on film. And he didn't care. He posted it. It's on his Instagram right now. You can see Chavo slouching on the couch.
I would have put on a clean shirt.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, you get self-conscious about shit like that.
He's a fucking ball buster for sure. But that's why. But yesterday when we were talking, that's what I said. I think he's your fucking one of your biggest fans though. At the same time, and he put it very well when he said, "Well, other comedians want to encourage you." He goes, "I just want to make you be the best that you can be."
Yes, yeah.
And I think he's honest about that. It's a fucking true point.
Yeah, there was, and we brought this up last night. There was one night where Ozfest was in New York with a day off, and a bunch of the bands on Ozfest, I invited them to come watch me at a comedy club. So in the audience, we're sprinkled with musicians from all these big angry rock bands. And for some reason, I didn't eat it as hard as I did in front of Roger Waters, but I had a bad set. Like, it was like, couple things popped, but a few things didn't. And overall, it was not my best. It was not what it should have been, for sure, by a long shot. I get off stage and I start walking up to all my musician buddies and I'm like, hey, sorry about that, man. And everyone was looking me in the face going, no, man, that was great. And I was like, and I know it wasn't. So you're being dishonest with me. Like, and people I'm walking by, hey, man, sorry about that. And people are like, no, dude, that was great. Like, guys from Disturbed are there, Rob Zombie's band. No, you were great. And I'm like, And I walk up to John Dolmayan, who's at one corner of the room, and Chavo gives me a hug, and I go, hey, John, sorry about that. John stands up and he goes, dude, come here. You know why you sucked? I'll tell you why. And I gotta say, like, I was kind of jarred by, do you know why you sucked?
Where's my support?
But the next words out of his mouth were spot on. He goes, when you walked on stage, you started out too cocky. You started doing this. I don't know why I'm doing a Chavo impression right now. I'm not even doing a John impression. I'm doing a Chavo impression. He goes, bro, when you first walked up on stage, he goes, you started out really cocky. You did this wrong. You did this wrong. Everything he said was exactly what I was reviewing in my head as I'm walking off stage.
The whole time you were apologizing.
And John nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. And because of that, there are moments where I, like when I do a roast, I can't rehearse a roast. I can't go to a comedy club and try the material out because it's like, you know, if I'm going to do a roast of Jose, I can't go on stage at a comedy club and go, hey, this weekend I'm roasting a friend of mine, and let's pretend like he's here. Basically, there's a couple things you need to know about Jose, and then I gotta describe. Yeah, I'm gonna describe Jose, and then I'm gonna do the jokes of it. Like, it doesn't work. You can't. Like, the only way it works is in that room with Jose's friends, with Jose's family, and everybody who knows him, and then all my jokes. We all know Jose. Boom, 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 boom. There's, you know, so, but with John Dolmayan, I'll call him up and go, hey, dude, I'm going to do this roast, and I want to try these jokes. And he's like, all right, let's hear it. And I'll read them to him. And when he laughs, it's the best laugh. And there are moments when he goes, I would cut that. Like, and he's just being honest. And I really appreciate his honesty. In comedy, you know, that's the crazy thing about comedy, and that's why a lot of people don't want to do comedy, is because you get a very honest reaction from people.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, you're either. I mean, even famous people, like a famous person will come into a comedy club, and people are like, "Holy shit!" And then after a couple minutes of "Holy shit," it's like, all right, now. What else you got?
Yeah.
And
I mean, know this guy, he's famous, he's gonna be good. And then that's pretty good.
And I always there's some guys I know like Chris Rock will always say when he pops into a comedy club to try new material, he always has the same line. He'll go, he'll be like, all right, lower your expectations, and then he'll say, what's the cover here tonight? And I go, $10. He goes, okay. This is going to be a $10 set. And he'll say, you know, this is going to be about a $10 set. So and that's a great line. It's a great way to let people know, like, hey, man, don't have any expectations. I'm just going to fuck around.
I'm not filming a special today. I'm working on
it. And it's crazy because I've seen Chris do really brand new shit that just doesn't... It's crazy to think, wow, how is this going to become something?
Yeah.
Because you can't see it. And he tries it, and he tries it, and he tries it. And that's the great thing about comedy. It's like you tighten it up. And this is unrelated, but I remember Chris Rock doing a joke once, and I was like, God damn, that is a brilliant joke. And there's no way he can do this. He kept coming in every night in Hollywood to all the clubs to work on his Oscars material. He's hosting the Oscars. And he said, God, I'm going to try to remember this. The punchline is amazing. So the joke was, I am rooting for people tonight at the Oscars whose lives are going to get better. That's what I want. I want to see people whose lives are going to get better from this. That's why I'm rooting for guys like, and what was the guy's name? He played on the Private Parts movie. He played
Pig Vomit.
Pig Vomit. Yeah. He played Pig Vomit. Great actor.
Yeah. I forget his name. I think it was Paul or something.
Yes, Paul. Oh shit.
It's not Paul Giamatti, is it?
Paul Giamatti. And he goes, I'm rooting for Paul Giamatti because Paul Giamatti, if he wins an Oscar tonight, his life is going to get better. This is why I'm not rooting for Leonardo DiCaprio tonight. He's like, how? Because if Leonardo DiCaprio wins an Oscar tonight, is he going to get even richer? Like, is he going to start getting even more pussy? Like, is there, or no, he said, is he going to get even more bitches was the line. He said, and then he said, are there any bitches that Leonardo DiCaprio hasn't had? Like if he wins the Oscar tonight, are they going to say, Leo, we got a couple bitches we've been saving for Jesus? That was the greatest line. We got a couple bitches we've been saving. And I remember hearing that line and going, how the fuck are you going to do that on TV? We got a couple bitches we've been saving for Jesus. We're going to let you have a couple of them.
Holy shit.
That was the craziest. We got a couple bitches you've been saving for Jesus. And that's the craziest thing to me is like, as someone who loves stand-up comedy, like I've been doing it for 25 years. I've been making a living at it for 18 years. I've been paying my mom's bills for 18 years.
That's fucking awesome.
That is awesome.
And to be able to watch the greatest comedians in the world for free is insane to me. Like I'm just such a fan. I'm such a fan of Chappelle and Chris Rock and Dave Attell and it's the biggest thing that separates me from most people is the fact that I just tried. And it's amazing to me that people don't try. Like I know so many people in my life who are doing everything. Like as a musician who became rock stars, as comedians who became rock star comedians. And then I know people who like, all right, you know what? I just want to be around it. So they're tour managers, they're guitar techs, they're comedy writers, they're animators. Yeah. Did I tell you that story about my buddy Gavin?
No.
I think I told you. Yeah, I'm almost positive I told you this story.
Oh, you talking about
this guy? The guy called me up one day. This guy contacted me online and said, "Hey, my name's Gavin, and I'm an animator, and I want to know if you would be interested in doing this part on this cartoon that I did, and I think you're perfect for it." And I was like, and I read it, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty funny." And he goes, "Yeah, man," and he's willing to pay me like scale. And I was like, all right, yeah. And I was coming to the Bay Area soon, and he said, all right, so I'll record you when you come here to do your shows. And I was like, all right, cool. And he's like, yeah, we'll just come to my apartment and we'll do it there. And I was like, your apartment? And he goes, but he sent me the money. And I was like, fuck. All right, he sent me money, but now I'm going to this guy's apartment. But he sent me pictures. Like he had an actress from Rocky and Bullwinkle come to the apartment. And he's like, yeah, I've had this girl come over. And I'm like, oh man, okay. And I'm like, this is weird. All right. But I did get paid up front, but I might get raped. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
It sound like it's a bad
right. So I go to this guy's apartment and we record and it's fun and we click. We, creatively we clicked and then romantically no so
more details
yeah so but we clicked and then and I was like, all right, that turned into a good experience, and him and I stayed in touch. And Gavin over the years got some jobs working on some bigger and bigger shows. He ended up working on a cartoon that some buddies of mine produced for Comedy Central, and then he is now the storyboard artist for The Simpsons.
That is fucking crazy.
And awesome. Yeah, and I remember he messaged me and said, hey, I heard you're doing this show. A buddy of mine, this guy Woody, who's got a big morning show in LA now on the alternative station in LA, he goes, hey, Woody's in my building. I work for The Simpsons now. Do you want to come and visit my work at The Simpsons, and I was like, oh my God, I'd love to visit you at The Simpsons.
Yeah, man.
So, but it's only one building. I think there's 3 buildings for The Simpsons. Like, he's in one of the animated buildings. There's another animated building, and then there's the actual production where they record the voiceover building, which I think is at Fox. So it's the fact that I know so many people who are pursuing their dreams and living their dreams, whether it's hey man, I think I can be on stage, or hey man, I love this so much I want to be close to it. And they're all doing it. They're all doing it on some level. And I see guys breaking out in all different capacities of entertainment. And it's crazy. It's crazy how you just gotta fucking try. And the friends of mine who sit on the sidelines and go, man, I can't believe all this happened. And I go, neither can I, but all I did was just head towards it.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like,
I kept heading towards
and I don't know what the path is. There is no path.
It's consistency.
It's consistency. You have to head towards a path, and then you just end up doing it. I knew a guy in high school who was the most talented fucking guitarist on planet Earth, man. I couldn't believe this dude. When I was like 15, 16, he was my age, and he's 16. He plays guitar like, I would just go like, dude, I go, can you play one of my favorite songs? And he'd be like, oh yeah. And he'd start playing it, and I'd be like, holy shit, it'd be spot on. And I go, can you play this? And he'd go, I don't know if I know that song. And I'd go, it's like, dun, 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 dun. And he goes, well, do you have a tape? And I'd play him the tape, and he'd listen, and he'd go, oh yeah, like this. And he'd figure everything out within like a few minutes. And he was brilliant. And I remember going, dude, you got to get the fuck out of Tucson, and you got to go to Hollywood. You got to go to Hollywood. And this kid said to me, I was 16 years old. He's 16. He goes, man, nobody makes it. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, nobody. He's like, it's a 1 in a billion shot. It's like, you can't really make it in Hollywood. And I was like, but what about the people who make it? And he goes, it's a 1 in a billion shot. It's like the odds of actually doing that are so slim. And I remember just thinking, like, I remember having the wherewithal to think, like, this is like some kind of adult thing you're saying to me. like only adults say dumb shit so like
you don't
this.
Have supportive parents. That's what you're saying.
Dude,
could have been.
You fucking nailed it. I met his parents.
Oh.
And his parents were the assholes that were telling him, get a job, do something reliable, don't fuck around with your life.
Right.
Don't
have fun.
Don't chase your pipe dreams. Like, just
That's
listen.
A hobby.
Yeah, happiness is making a regular paycheck.
Working for the man.
It was mind-blowing how, and this guy ended up in the military. And there's nothing wrong with that. He ended up in the military, but he did it because of the reliability of the check. Married the first girl he had sex with.
Oh.
Who he wasn't. There's a whole story behind that. He married the first girl he had sex with, and he played life so safe. Fast forward, what was that? He got married when I was 20. Fast forward to 2001. I'm 31 years old. I'm now on the Howard Stern show. And I'm getting emails. My favorite emails were the ones that the subject said, "Are you the same Craig Gass from Tucson?" Or
like, oh, this is gonna be a good one.
Or Amphitheater High School ? Or like, I would always love clicking on that. Like, oh, who is this? Like, I had such fond memories of growing up in Arizona that I loved reconnecting with old friends. Even if they weren't close to me, like, I remember you. Oh my God, dude, whatever became of, like, I just loved, I love connecting to my childhood and saying like, hey man, how is so-and-so? And how, like, I just love, like, you know.
It's good to revisit that. It's like that time machine almost.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
brings you back immediately.
And I had fun times growing up in Arizona, man. I mean, I'm originally from New York, but all my formative years were here in Tucson. So I get an email. And it says, old friend from Tucson. I click on it, And the email said, "Holy shit, I'm sitting here at my desk here in San Diego, and I'm listening to Howard Stern say, Craig Gass is the funniest motherfucker I've ever heard in my life."
Shit.
And I'm just going, wow, I can't believe it. And you know what? You were right. I should have chased my dreams. And I looked at the bottom, and it was my buddy.
Fuck. That's heavy.
And I went, holy shit. And the name was like Lieutenant blah, blah, blah.
Shit,
like,
really?
And I was like, holy fuck. He had worked his way all the way up through the military. And I was like, oh my God. And, but he's looking at me going, Jesus, dude.
You made it.
You went after something with no backup plan and just fucking landed on it. And you know what? I didn't even land on... I never even got fame and fortune. I got a little bit of notoriety and a few bucks. But I am unbelievably grateful.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware of how lucky I am. You know, I'm not I'm not part of somebody else's dream.
Absolutely. You're not helping somebody else's dreams come true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're grinding out a living doing what you want to do. That's
it.
admirable.
Yeah.
That's the way it used to be. You know, people used to. There were 80% of the people were entrepreneurs. You know, that guy makes the shoes, that guy does this, and everybody worked for themselves.
Yeah.
And they all did something for the community. And
Yeah.
now you go work for somebody else. You know, 80% of the people work for somebody else, like a corporation and all that shit.
Yeah, and I always tell Baden, like your buddy said, okay, it's just 1 in a billion chance. Well, Baden and I always talk about, things like that. But the one thing I always say to people is like, the only 100% chance that you got is if you don't fucking try. That's 100% chance that you won't make it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just normal that way.
Yeah.
So,
I got to be honest. There are things that happen in my life that I could not wrap my brain around. How the fuck did I get here? And the only answer that I had...
Don't think about it.
The only answer that I had is like, well, this is where I headed towards. So eventually, it was a possibility that this was going to happen. Like I remember getting my first acting gig was Sex and the City, and then they shut down production because Sarah Jessica Parker got pregnant. So I had to wait a few weeks before we started filming, and then I picked up another job on Law and Order. So Law and Order ended up being my first acting experience. And it was a funny story too, because when I went into audition, they had me come in and read for the part of a bartender, and the only description of the bartender was hella cool guy. And I remember like picking up the script and like I read it, and then they had me come in and read for the producers, and they said, all right, next up we have Craig Gass. And I walked in the room and I go, hey guys, what's going on? And they go, how you doing, Craig? And I go, doing good. Can I just say something real quick before we get started, if that's okay? Hella cool guy. That's me. And they go, all right. Well, why don't you read and we'll decide that on our own. I go, all right. So I start reading the script, and I'm reading with somebody else who's reading the other parts, and I'm bouncing off of this girl, and then I get done. And I look around the room, and they're all staring at me. And then someone goes, Craig, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. Can you go back outside into the waiting room and grab a script? There's another script outside that has a character named Mark Grandy. And I was like, Mark Grandy? And 2 other guys in the room said, I was just thinking the same thing. And he goes, shit. I go, yeah. And they go, yeah, get Mark Grandy. And I'm looking at my script and I go, so
you're not hella.
I go, hella cool guy is not, and they go, no, grab Mark Grandy. I go, all right. So I walk out in the lobby and I grab the script, Mark Grandy, character description, drunk asshole, and I was like, drunk asshole, and I was like, what the? And then I heard the guys back in the room go, Craig, come back, and I go, I haven't read the material yet, and they go, it doesn't matter, and I go, it doesn't matter. I walked back in the room and I read it cold off the script. Like, this is my first time I'm reading it. I'm reading it cold in front of them. And they said, you got the job. And I was like, I am that much of a drunk asshole looking guy that.
Were you already clean by then?
No, I was drinking a lot. Yeah. I was drinking a lot. So I never. In fact,
so you were method acting.
Yes. In fact, I got cast in a vodka commercial. I think it was Was it Bacardi? I think it was Bacardi commercial where I was a drunk asshole in a TV commercial. Like I started hitting all these drunk asshole gigs.
Typecast.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I remember, so here I am, like all these years earlier, thinking like, man, I want to be in this business. And I got the blinders on. I start in Seattle, and then it's like, I got a little bit of an in with the Howard Stern show. I'm going to move to New York to be closer to Howard, and then I move in with another comedian friend of mine, Mitch Hedberg. I moved in with Mitch, and I started writing for Howard. Started writing for Weekend Update, and I start working my way up. And now here I am. I'm on the set of. When I say on the set, we're filming on the streets. We're filming on 11th Avenue and 57th Street. My first scene is I'm going to be with. The guy from Dirty Dancing, Jerry Orbach.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and I remember they go, hey, have you met Jerry? And I go, nobody puts baby in a corner. and someone said, yeah, don't say that. And I go, nobody puts baby in a corner. And I said it again. So,
drunk asshole.
So they go, hey guys, Craig, you mind if we just rehearse this real quick with Jerry out here on the street? And I go, oh okay. So and then the director goes, shh, everybody shut up, and everybody. And then Jerry and I read to each other, and I'm doing my part, he's doing his part. It's like, all right, I think we're good. All right, we're gonna go. So Craig, listen, we're gonna start from this garage. We're gonna start from here. Jerry's gonna start talking to you, and we're gonna be out here. So come out of the garage, and we're gonna follow you out to this car lot. I'm a used car salesman, like drunk asshole to the bone. And so they go, all right, so you're gonna be up here, and then we're gonna do this, and we're ready to go. All right, we ready? We're ready. Okay, roll tape. Quiet on the set, and action. And I went, so they're just going to put us on TV now? Cut! And I was like, because I remember thinking like, fucking, that's it? That's it? You're going to put me on NBC? Like, this makes no sense. You want to hear something crazy? When I got on the set of Sex in the City, I remember being paranoid all the way until the episode was released that HBO was going to interrupt my filming or interrupt the release of my appearance on Sex in the City when somebody at HBO was probably going to find out that I owed money to HBO. I hadn't paid my HBO bill. Like I stopped paying it years ago. My HBO got turned off. And I thought that HBO was going to find out and walk on the set and go, put your clothes on, motherfucker. Where's our $30? Like,
what a great skip for that shit.
Yeah, I honestly thought.
Sweating the whole time.
Yeah, man. I remember thinking like, and I remember thinking like, oh man, this feels so good. Like everything we're doing is so much fun, but oh my God, this might not ever see the light of day because HBO's gonna stop this, you know?
Because I owe $30.
Because I owe them $30.
A little fucking deduction.
Like it was a legit fear that HBO was gonna find out that I had somehow worked my way onto an HBO show, and that like don't let that guy
get through the cracks.
Yeah. I really had a fear of that, but all right, I know we're already at an hour here, but I don't know how you want to wrap this up, but goddamn, we covered it all. Murder, pain,
meaning,
comedy.
Comedy. I was going to ask you, just because I'm a big King of Queens fan, how was it working with like Kevin James and all them, dude? Kevin was great. There's a guy, there was a crazy thing that happened behind the scenes where this is a real Hollywood story. I was working with an agent. I had an agency that I wasn't happy with. And so we went our separate ways. And a guy who I'm probably going to give too many details that this guy can easily be identified. So I got to be careful. But so this guy, I ended up working with this agent who I told him, I said, listen, I want to work with you if you can do this for me. I need someone who can get me dramatic roles. I have a real easy time getting dramatic roles. Okay. I have a real easy time. Just my batting average is really good getting dramatic roles.
And so I don't want to be typecast as a funny guy. I want to be able to do. I want to do like serious shit, creepy shit. Creepy shit would be great. And I did play a really creepy character on a TV show called Las Vegas with Alec Baldwin and James Caan, and so this agent never got what I asked for, and the only thing he sent me up. I remember he sent me out for one audition, and it was for Scary Movie 4, and I wasn't even reading for like a character name. I was reading for Shooter Number 2.
Yeah.
And
on the cover of Scary Movie 4, it wouldn't have been.
I think it was Shooter Number 3. And I remember walking in the waiting room, and in the waiting room is Brian Callen, the comedian, and I go, Brian, what the fuck you doing here? And he goes, I'm reading for Shooter Number 3, and I go, me too. He goes, dude, I thought like at this point in my career I'd be fucking doing acceptance speeches and shit, and I'm rooting for Shooter Number 3. And so we were both pissed about it. So I told that agent, I said, hey man, this isn't working out, man. I'm gonna have to look for somebody else. All right, cool. He goes his way, I go my way. And then I get a call at the Howard Stern show from this guy, Mike Socio, who's like, hey man, my name's Mike, and I've been trying to track you down. I don't know who your agent is, but I'm a writer for the TV show King of Queens, and I'm a big fan of yours. I wrote a character that, with you in mind. Mm-hmm. It's basically a guy who does impressions, and this guy gets hired at Kevin's work, and he does impressions.
IPS.
IPS is the name. It's like UPS, but they call it IPS. And this guy, everybody loves him because everybody loves impressions. So he's like the funniest guy at work. Kevin gets jealous of him, and he wants to trip him up. So Kevin ends up sending him on a fake delivery route where he gets pulled out of his truck because Kevin sends him through a bad neighborhood where he gets the shit beat out of him. He ends up in the hospital. Kevin comes to the hospital to apologize and go, hey man, I wasn't trying to get you hurt. I was just trying to get you fired, man. I'm sorry. And so, would you be interested in doing this? And I was like, oh my God. He's like, I don't know. Like, are you interested in doing sitcoms? I was like, this is absolutely, man. This is amazing. He goes, all right. He goes, I just got to just a couple little details. We got to but I just wanted to pitch it to you first. And I said, dude, I am so in. Thank you for thinking of me. And I hang up the phone. The next day, I start getting text messages from that old agent who I fired. Oh. And he's, call me ASAP. Please call. It's really, so I finally call the guy and I go, hey man, what's going on? And this is what I hear. Craig, I know you're mad at me, okay? I know that you told me to go fuck myself, okay? And you know what? Fuck me. Fuck me. Because I didn't do right by you, okay? I didn't do right by you, okay? But, and I know you're going to be mad at me, but I'm still your biggest cheerleader. And I still talk about you to everybody, okay? And I know you're going to be pissed, and I know you're going to be furious with me for saying this, but I just put you on King of Queens. Okay, fuck me. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I put you on King of Queens, but I love you so much. I love you so much. You're like a child to me. You're like a child to me, and I love you so much, and I wanted to take care of you, so I put you on King of Queens. And I went, wait a minute. You had nothing to do with that. I actually know the reason why I'm on King of Queens is because of a guy named Mike Socio, who's one of the head writers over there. He goes, no, I did it. I did it all. And just let me just handle the negotiations from here, and I'll take care of you. And I was like, whoa. And I go, wait. I go, no. I go, it had nothing to do with you. It had to do with this guy, Mike. And he goes, no, it had to do with me. And I go, wait, who did you talk to? And he said, I talked to someone over the show. And I go, but who? Just let me take care of it. And I go, no, but wait a minute. Hold on. If you deserve credit for this, I want to make sure you get credit. So who is the person that you talked to? And he goes, Fred. And I go, Fred who? And he goes, Fred, he's look, I'll take care of it. And I go, well, wait a minute. Give me because wait a minute. Hold on. If I have a guy who's telling me he's responsible and you're telling me somebody like, I want to get to the bottom of this so that whoever deserves credit, and I'm onto this. Like I know what, and I go, so listen, give me Fred's phone number. And he goes, fine, it's 310-888 8888. Like, you know, he gives me a phone number. I call the number. It's disconnected. And I never hear from the agent again. But he apparently, like, word got out that King of Queens wanted me. And somehow the industry is so connected that this guy actually got word like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to jump in and take this money. I'm going to get a percentage for this. And yeah, it was crazy.
Did you ever thank him?
No.
No.
So I went and it was pretty cool. And I don't know if I should say this or not. I don't know if I've ever said this publicly, but I was dating a girl at the time who happened to be the catering girl for. I really happened to be, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I fucked her on the set, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, that we made love.
I had sex with her on the set.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and even cooler than that is that she would say, like, they would blow so much money on catering. Like it literally was like, if somebody she goes, like, if somebody says, hey, we want to get P.F. Chang's, we'll get like a $2,000 worth of P.F. Chang's brought in. And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, so it's literally, she goes, is there anything you'd want to get one day? And I go, I'd love to get some In-N-Out. She goes, we can get some In-N-Out. So the next day, everyone was like, hey, did you hear we got $2,000 worth of In-N-Out? And I go, we did? And they go, yeah. And then it was, and I remember everyone was like, all right, we got, 100 cheeseburgers. We got 100 burgers. We got X amount of fries. And we have 2 orders of double doubles protein style. And I go, oh, that's mine. And they go, what? And like, even Kevin James is like, you got a special order? And I go, well, yeah. Well, I like them protein style. And it was like this, why the fuck is this guy who's never been on the show before? Why is he getting a special order?
Shots and shit.
Yeah. And then I went up to my room and made love.
And made love.
It's terrible I'm even saying this, but we did it on Patton Oswalt's couch. Because Patton wasn't on the episode, and I was using his dressing room.
Spencer.
Oh, it was so cool to be like, oh my god, I'm on a huge TV show, and it was the same thing as Sex and the City, where I know this is a popular TV show. I don't know anything about it. I just know that it's popular. Mm-hmm. But I knew just reading the script that Kevin James was very likable. The character was written as very likable. You couldn't help but root for the guy when you read the script. Like, he's insecure, and he just really wants people to like him, and so he wants to do impressions, and nobody can understand what the fuck his impressions are.
No.
So he tries, like, all right, well, maybe I'll come in, and he wants more attention than I'm getting. So he starts doing magic tricks, and his magic tricks are fucked up because he keeps dropping cards everywhere. And then so he's like, maybe I'll learn how to breathe fire, and it's like, he's trying so hard to get everybody's attention, and it's very likable. And but the girl on the show, Leah Remini and I bonded immediely.
So you're a Scientologist now?
I would be a Scientologist with Leah. I mean, it's like, she was just so cool that we started calling each other fuckface within like 24 hours. We were calling each other fuckface. And
yeah, she was beautiful too.
Yeah, well, she was super cool and obviously beautiful, and we bonded. And here's the crazy thing: I wasn't sure how Kevin felt about me. I was trying. This is my insecurity. I wanted to bond with Kevin so badly, and I wasn't feeling it on rehearsals.
Oh, like the connection.
Like, I wasn't feeling a connection, and so I remember that this is very embarrassing to admit, but. We do rehearsals, and then when we'd wrap, I would stand near the exit and wait for Kevin to walk out. And then when I saw Kevin coming towards the exit, I would start walking in like, oh, hey, Kevin. Like,
you'd be like the hot chick that you're trying to run into.
Yes. On the way out of school. Yeah. And I'd catch him walking out, and I'd be like, oh, Kevin, right? Hey, and I go, Kevin, because Kevin was the last guy to sign off on me. Like Mike said, I have an idea for a character, and it would be just be you, basically being you. You're doing impressions, and Kevin gets you. And I was like, oh my God, I love it. He goes, all right, I just need Kevin to sign off on it, which made me feel like, oh man, that made me feel nervous because it was like, what if I just got pitched this amazing idea, but Kevin doesn't sign off on it. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to know that Kevin James doesn't like me. But Kevin saw videos of me and he said, okay, this guy, he does impressions. This is what he looks like. This is some of his impressions. And Kevin was like, oh, I love him. Let's do it. And I was like, oh. So I'm like, all right. And in my mind, I was like, Kevin must really like me. But I could tell right away that it was just kind of like, yeah, man, that works. He wasn't like, oh my God, I love him. Man, he was just like, I like the idea. Yes, let's do it. And I wanted more. I wanted him to like me.
You wanted to have espresso like you were thinking about
with Roger Waters. So I'm standing at the exit, like, waiting for him, like, hey, Kevin, man, thanks again for getting me to be, on the show with you. And Kevin every day would just be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great. That's it. He would just be like, yeah, cool. And I was like, oh man, I'm not bonding with him. I'm not like, I really want to be friends with this guy. But this crazy thing happened years later, like literally 4 or 5 years later. I'm at the Super Bowl. I always perform in the Super Bowl city every year, and I interview the teams. So I'm at the Super Bowl Media Center. I'm broadcasting from there. Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Kevin James, David Spade, and Rob Schneider all show up together to promote Grown Ups.
Let's say the entire cast of Grown Ups.
The entire cast of Grown Ups show up to promote this movie that's coming out soon. And they split up into 2 groups to work the entire media center. There's probably like between 100 and 200 radio stations. So they're going to break up into 2 groups and work this whole room. And Kevin went walking past me, and I said, hey, Kevin, how you doing? And he's with security, and he goes, hey, how you doing, buddy? And he kept walking, and he stopped and looked at me, and he went, gas. He goes, dude. He goes, wait, come here. I got to get you to do your Sandler for the Sandman. And he walked me across the room into another room where Adam Sandler was hanging out. And he goes, Adam, this is Craig Gass. This guy does an impression of you. And do your impression. So I start doing the impression, and Sandler goes, oh, that's good. I like that. But he interrupted the impression before I could complete it. And I said, oh, well, there's one more part to the impression. Your laugh where you go, And Sandler went, okay, take it easy. Relax, buddy. I got you. So, but dude, for Kevin James, like all those years later, to look me right in the face and go, gas. And I was like, oh my God. And so...
Did we just become best friends?
Because I want us to become best friends. I really do. I want us to become best friends. But he remembered me and he was nice enough to do that. So yeah, man, it's like, it's funny how... and it's on every level in comedy, from the very top to the very bottom, how we might have shit that's cool, but we want more. We want, like, there's always people behind you that wish they had what you had.
Yeah.
But you're looking at the stuff you don't have and you wish you had more. But
yeah, it's just never enough a lot of times. But I mean, that is awesome, because I love King of Queens. So, and then I remember it was Danny who brought you onto IPS, and it's like, yeah, I got you guys you guys met so and so, and he's like, hey, do your blind Al Pacino.
Oh, yeah,
you start doing your blind Al Pacino, and
from Son of a Woman, yeah.
Yeah, and Kevin's like, hey guys, I'm telling the story here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he came off as so likable, and it was so much fun, and the bummer was that Mike wanted my character to be a recurrent character. But Mike also wrote a movie called Hitch.
With Will Smith?
With Will Smith and Kevin James. And once Kevin got a taste of movies, he was like, oh, let's just do movies. Mm-hmm. And so he ended King of Queens and just moved into movies. And I was like, shit. Like, I wanted that character. But it was a great experience. And again, be grateful for what you have. And that's, if there's any note I want to end this on, it's that it's about being grateful. And but more importantly, if you have any kind of dream to do anything, you should be pursuing it, because that's what That's what senior citizens always say on their deathbed is like, why didn't I try to chase a dream? It's like, life is so short. It's like, it goes by so quick. And life is what you make it. And you have to pursue a dream, man, because there's nothing more satisfying. And again, I've been lucky enough to pay my bills for 18 years and also pay my mom's bills. But the thing that I value the most is the thousands of hours of conversations I've had about this thing that I love with other comedians, analyzing our favorite comics, our least favorite comics, the comedy clubs we love, the comedy club owners we hate, and all these funny aspects to, you have goals that you head towards, but it's not about that. It's about the journey that you take to the goals, and that's where the happiness is.
Experiences are what really leads to true happiness.
Especially the bad ones. Yeah. The bad ones are the best experiences you can have.
You remember to the fucking T.
Those are the ones that like you grow the most. Like,
yes.
Like I always tell people who want to be in comedy, like you'll never learn from having a good night. You'll only learn from a bad set. Because when you have a bad set where something goes off or something just doesn't work and it's fucking embarrassing to be up there and you're like, oh man, this really sucks and nobody wants to talk to you, and you start driving home. On the way home, you sit there so shell-shocked by what you experience. You just play it over and over and over in your head. And then all of a sudden you go, you know what I should have said? I should have said this.
Yeah.
And that's growth. Right in that moment, that's growth. And that moment or a moment similar to that may never happen again. But if it does, you're going to have a line, boom, right there, and you're going to recover and bounce on, and you're going to be good.
And we all of us experience that to a moment, to a point where even with friends, you're like, God damn it, I should have said that.
Yeah, it's like being in a relationship. You're in a relationship long enough, you get really good at arguing because, like, your girlfriend might, like, have something on you that'd be like, fuck, and then, like, later that night, you'll think, oh, you know what I should have said to that bitch?
Yeah.
Oh, man. And then you hope she brings it up again the next day. Like, hey, because I got something to say too, bitch. Like, and it's, So it's the same thing. And it's like, it's that, I'll never have another opportunity to perform for Roger Waters. So that moment is long gone.
Well, I would never say that, but I always say, also, like I've always said, is like, or I heard actually, I don't want to say, but I heard and I love it, is that wouldn't you rather live scared and happy than miserably comfortable? Which is, what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's too bad that it's so late, but I was telling Baden, I didn't tell Baden anything about but your Roger Waters story, because I was like, oh, maybe fucking Craig will say it, but it is long, but it's classic, and that's why I said the espresso stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, the coolest moments in my life that have ever happened have been because of risks that I took. So, but I got to run out of here, man. I got to get
we
so.
really appreciate your time,
appreciate. I mean, just to wrap it up, again, this is Craig Gass, and I want to thank you, Craig, for give me the opportunity to work on your bit for the animation.
Of course, man. It came out great. It's called Love Letter to Seattle.
Love Letter to Seattle.
Yep.
Appreciate you coming to take some time out of your day to talk with us. I mean, truly appreciate that. I mean, for real, man. To me, it's always about friends and people and health. That's my main things that I think make us all, makes me happy anyway. And we truly appreciate it. And I know I'll let Baden say something, but first of all, I just want to say, if you could say Juan and Joe Podcast and your Al Pacino.
Sure, of course. So it's and what is the tagline you want me to say?
Well, we don't really have anything.
You're listening to the Juan and Joe Podcast.
Yeah, you're listening
to
the
Juan
and Joe
podcast. We'll probably play
I'll do a couple.
Intro music.
I'll do a couple of them.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on? This is Tom Arnold, and you're listening to the Juan and Jose Podcast. Juan Jose, is that it?
Juan and Joe.
Oh, Juan and Joe. Oh, yeah.
Close enough.
Hey, what's going on? This is Tom Arnold. You're listening to two Mexican guys, and it was really fun. I like cocaine.
Hi, this is Christopher Walken, and you're listening to Juan and Joe, the podcast. Keep it here and tell me, are these guys' voices fucked up or is it me? Pow!
Hey, what's going on? This is Lars Ulrich from Metallica, and you're listening to two guys who I always get my coke from. It's Juan and Joe, of course. I always know Joe is Jose the fucking drug mule. Huh? Ha ha.
Hey, this is Paul Stanley, and this is Gene Simmons from Kiss, and you're listening to Juan and Joe, who just paid me $5 to say, listen to this podcast. If you missed any part of this plug, go to kissonline.com. Boom. Hey, what's happening? This is Tracy Morgan. I'm a black dude. You're listening to two guys who sound like Mexicans, Juan and Jose, but they call him Joe. Keep it here or I'll put a baby in your butthole. Hi, this is Al Pacino, and you're listening to two motherfuckers who I like to call my friends, mi amigos, Juan and Joe, the podcast, right here, cocksuckers. Hooah.
Hi, this is Gilbert Gottfried, and you're listening to two people who I just wish would shut the fuck up. It's Juan and Joe. We get it. You're loud. Yes, Affleck.
Hey, what's going on? This is Adam Sandler, and you're listening to two guys who are not Jews. It's Juan and Joe, and it's the podcast. Shibby-doo. Hee-hoo. How's that? Is that good?
That's amazing, man.
Better, bro.
All right.
Oh, man.
Hey.
Thank you so much.
Hey, this is Brady. You're listening to Juan and Joe, and they got these. It's good. It's good. So keep it tuned.
Brady, why are you awake? It's midnight.
Oh man, cause
Kirby woke you up again?
my wife's been working the street. She's sucking. We're making extra cash.
Oh, shit. Well, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate your time.
It was good times, man.
And that's a fucking wrap.
That's a fucking wrap.